And we are live. Hello, good morning to everyone. Happy Saturday. Happy Super Galactic Saturday. It's a beautiful sunny morning once again. Looking good outside, nice and bright. And the weather's pretty good. It's warm, but it's not too hot yet. We'll see, as the day progresses. But uh, as I always say, any day above ground is a good day, and today is definitely a good day. For those who are joining us live, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. And those who are watching afterwards, thanks for watching. We thank you very much for your support. And we're going to talk about a few things today, namely more indie comics that we enjoy, and indie comics that we've read, and we're going to talk about some other things in the way of the Transformers. That they dropped a new trailer for the animated movie coming out, so we're gonna take a look at that and talk about some other stuff. So, thanks for joining us. Welcome. And I'm here. I'm Jerry Senior, and I'm here with Jerry Junior.
Good morning.
And yeah, so what you got for us in the way of indie comics?
Yeah, so the comic that I read this week is called Rob Haynes' Adventure. Now it's kind of a more obscure comic. It's not a new series. It's been around since at least the '90s. It's written by a guy named Randy Reynaldo.
Hmm.
I actually met him at WonderCon. Really cool dude. Really cool to talk to him. You know, if you read his story and you kind of get the sense that he's kind of into that. Like as soon as I mentioned stuff like Dragon Quest and things like Tintin,
Yeah,
things like that, you kind of you kind of gel with that because the comic that he wrote, uh, which is called Rob Haynes Adventures, in the '90s. It was originally published under uh, a smaller comic publisher called Adventure Strip Digest.
yeah.
I don't know if that rings a bell to you at all.
Not for me, no, unfortunately.
Oh, no worries. But yeah, so back in the '90s, or apparently, um, the actual Rob Haynes character was created in 1976.
Okay.
But it wasn't until 1991 that the character was first officially published under WCG Comics, and originally it was called the Adventure Strip Digest, starring Rob Haynes. And Rob Haynes was essentially this sort of Indiana Jones, sort of younger Indiana Jones, older than Tintin kind of
Yeah.
character,
Right.
or this essentially like a gun for hire. He works for this, international, I guess, agency. I guess you could call it like basically what do you call it? A private risk consultant agency, basically. You know, and when you read the story, you get a sense that it's going to be a lot of espionage. Or just looking at the cover, actually, pull up the comic book. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So this is I have a few issues, but this is the most. This is the first issue that I have. Is issue
Yeah.
number 9.
Okay.
So
And from what I understand, it's every issue is a standalone adventure. It's not something that's leaves you with cliffhangers and all. It's more like it's a serial type of series.
yeah, that's what I get. That's kind of what the feeling I get with the story. Like this kind of doesn't really end on a cliffhanger. It's
Yeah, yeah,
there's continuity, obviously,
right.
but
But it's a self-contained adventure. So you when you can jump in anywhere, right? You
Oh
don't
yeah,
have to go
absolutely.
to issue 1 and then you can actually, just grab an issue where, issue 9, issue 12 or 25, and
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
you're reading a great adventure with these characters, and
yeah.
like
Like
you mentioned,
literally,
it's
the next issue, issue 10, is Rob Haynes undercover in a minor baseball league. So very very different story than
yeah,
this. You know,
yeah, that's pretty cool.
gunfights in the Middle East. You know what I'm saying? So
But I like that idea that you can jump in at any time. Like you don't have
yeah,
to.
I kind of miss stories like that.
Yeah,
To be perfectly honest, because I like being able to just pick up a comic and just read it. That's kind of what one of the issues I had with I wasn't really an issue, but like I remember the first comic book series that I started collecting was the Sonic Archie comics,
yeah,
and the first issue I ever saw was literally like Sonic and Tails fighting each other. And if I explain the story, you're not gonna believe it. Because I'm only, I'm coming off of the video games, right? So it's like,
right.
yeah, you're in Green Hill Zone, you're beating up robots, whatever, and then like all of a sudden, I pick up this issue, and Tails' dad is a political prisoner, and Sonic is, essentially working for the government, and Tails is breaking him out of prison. It's like what, what? How did he get here?
That's funny.
So yeah, so it's kind of nuts. But essentially, what I'm saying is, it wasn't always the series wasn't always like that. Obviously, it's got you know more complex. You started having these to be continued type of stories.
Right.
But I guess what I'm saying is, I miss self-contained comic issues. But yeah, this is one of those, and the story itself is really cool. It's essentially Rob Haynes, that's the titular character. He gets hired to rescue a American fighter pilot from this fictional. Or I don't know how. I don't want to say it's fictional and then look it up on the map, but basically,
Right.
he's in the Middle East in this country called Coman, and he's got to rescue him from terrorists, stuff like that. So pretty typical archetypal American hero type of story. He's got to compete with a rival contractor. You know, uh, in order to complete the mission, but then they end up teaming up by the end of the story. Uh, Pretty cool. There's a Lois Lane type of character. She's like a news reporter,
Yeah.
uh, and they have her and her name's Tiffany, and her and Rob obviously have a history with each other. That she was right here, and what's cool is that this isn't uh, Rob's first story set in this country. So you can see in a very small editor's notes, this isn't Rob's first overseas posting was in Coman. So there have been previous issues and previous stories in this particular setting. So there's going to be some returning characters. I don't know who they are. Obviously, this is my first issue, but I think it's cool
Yeah.
that there is continuity. I think the art and character design is cool.
Yeah. Looks very classic, like kind of classic comic art.
Yeah, I guess
Somewhat golden age, I guess.
because I'm not used to reading American comics in black and white.
Yeah.
Everything feels kind of flat at the beginning. It's not a big deal, but it does get a lot more dynamic later on in the issue. But
Okay.
yeah, that was my. I guess, like I say, it could just be because, like I said, I'm not used to uh, reading American comics in black and white. I would have liked to see this stuff in color. I don't know if
Do
there's
you know?
any other
Yeah,
issues.
that's what I was gonna say. Do you know if there are any in color, like full color?
I don't know. So far, all the issues I've seen are in black and white. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out. But overall, I do like the the Rob's actual character design. Um, he kind of looks like an older Johnny Quest
Yeah,
almost.
yeah, it definitely has that feel to it,
Yeah,
which I like. So you can't go wrong with Johnny Quest.
but yeah, overall, I think his character is pretty cool. The writing's pretty. I mean, it's pretty. I would say standard, like it's a bad thing, but it's very much like the story went exactly how I thought it was gonna go, and but it was cool though. I would say if you're into classic uh, sort of pulp, uh, I guess the word would be pulp fiction, but like like very like sort of swashbuckling type of stories, or more where it's more grounded. Not necessarily superheroes, but like uh, where it's yeah. I mean that's kind of the only way I can describe it. If you like classic pulp fiction style stories, is I would check out Rob Haynes, and if you're into sort of espionage and action and stuff like that, and sort of that's if you're looking for that sort of Indiana Jones feel, but with obviously a more younger character. Think like I would say the another good comparison would be I don't know if you ever played Uncharted, Dad, but Nathan Drake, where he's kind of like a younger a younger character who's like this globe trotting adventurer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So if you like Uncharted, if you like that type of story and setting, then I would check out Rob Haynes' Adventures.
All right, cool. Yeah, that sounds good. I like that. It looks good. I went to the website and you can check out, see some of the other issues and everything. Covers are nice. Looks pretty solid. Lots of fun. Lots of great adventure. So
Yeah, I would say, and I know it's they're not a big company. I would have liked to see um, maybe like no, hopefully in the future. And I could they could be out there. Like it would be nice to see like a almost like a Alex Ross interpretation of this character.
yeah,
Or
okay. I know. Yeah, that actually would be cool. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I like that. All right, awesome. Definitely gonna check it out myself. So because it looks pretty cool.
oh yeah,
So, all right, so definitely highly recommend. And what's the website where you can get the book? What's the URL?
oh yeah. It's so I went on Indie Planet. You can order them off of indieplanet.com. And I mean that was the first website that popped up when I looked up Rob Haynes Adventures.
Okay, all right, cool. Indie Planet. Yeah, that works. Awesome. So yeah, so you have that, and I was going to talk about um, Ripperverse and ISOM #1. It came out, I think, what was it last year? Early last year, or,
Last year, yeah.
and I got me a copy and everything, and I've read it, read through it, and actually I got ISO #2, but I won't talk about that one today. Um, but um, yeah, I, it's kind of interesting. It's a long story. It's like 90, I think 94 pages or something like that, 96 pages.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good sized book. It's a lot to take in. Um, and we understand that it's a brand new comic universe, right? So he uses this story to sort of launch that universe, and with that understanding is how I came into the story and read it for myself. And I'm kind of walked away with, you know, kind of feeling like, okay, there's a lot to take in. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of information, you know,
Right.
and there's also a lot of mystery. So it's kind of interesting balance to have so much story in one book, right? But then at the same time, there's still like a lot left on the table that isn't revealed yet, you know. And that part I like because it makes me. That's what made me get um, issue two. Was I'm like, okay, I gotta see where this goes. So it's not bad. The main character's name is Isam, of course, um, and apparently he is a. And this is what I've garnered from reading one and some of two. I haven't finished number two yet. So, but he's a former hero. I don't know if he was a hero for hire, a la Luke Cage or something, right? But he was a hero. As you can see, he had a hero suit, all that stuff. Um, and something happened, and he's not a hero anymore. And he decides to basically walk away from being a hero. And in the first issue, it doesn't really tell you why, right? It doesn't reveal exactly what made him walk away. Um, you just kind of surmise from it that, oh, I guess he used to be, and now he's not, right? And you can kind of guess and figure out, but it doesn't tell you. So, at least in issue one, right?
Right.
So it opens with him. He's a rancher. Establishes him as a rancher. I believe his civilian name is Avery, right? And
Yeah.
he has a ranch. He has employees, and it actually opens up with him on the ranch, and he's like working out. He's like punching a punching bag, and so clearly he maintains his health and he stays in good shape and all that, despite not doing any hero work, right? Um, and then he gets a call, and it's from his sister. Excuse me. It's from his sister, and apparently there's a friend of the family who's missing, and she's worried, and she wants to find out where she is. She hasn't been checking in or anything, and apparently she works for some big time local, I guess, businessman who's kind of shady. I suppose he owns a club and all this kind of stuff. And so he's hesitant at first, as the typical sort of trope, right? The calling in the hero, the retired hero, back into action, right? And but he agrees when he's kind of guilted by his sister a little bit, and he goes to check it out to figure out where is she, right? Ask around, and lo and behold, the person that she works for is also an old friend from like high school or something, and they didn't get along then, and it's clear they don't get along now, right? And so there's a lot of uneasy conversation. Um, Obviously, there's sort of this built-in mistrust that you sense, right?
Yeah.
And of course, once he's asked to leave, Avery, by this gentleman, uh, all hell breaks loose, right? and a big fight breaks out. He takes down a couple of his security or whatever. And then there's this huge guy who's like what's called in this world. Those who have, I guess, abilities are called accepts, right? And so this accept steps in. He's this huge guy, right? And he starts taking him out, and he loses that fight, right? He gets literally tossed out, and like flung across halfway across town, it seems. And he flies into this other accept, and gets slammed into a vehicle. It's kind of crazy. It's a crazy scene. Um, it's one of the few sort of preview pages I saw prior to the launch that was kind of intriguing, right? It was like, whoa, what's going on here, right? So that kind of pulled me in a little bit. So yeah, to see it kind of fleshed out and see it in context, right? Was like, okay, now I see what's going on. Okay, that's pretty cool. So yeah, it's some decent actions, a lot of fighting, a lot of fisticuffs. Um, because of course, once he's tossed out, he goes back, right, and to get answers, and now he's really pissed, so, and of course he ends up encountering that accept again, and this time he gets the best of him. But one of the things though, and let me move forward beyond that, and thank you, Rosmaine, for the correction regarding the launch. It shipped actually in October of 2022. So ISO number one shipped in October 2022. So thanks for that. I appreciate it. Um, but yeah, so after all that, the fight and everything goes back. Um, it kind of ends with him taking down this club and a few of the guys' goons. He actually sees the woman he's looking for, and apparently she won't give him answers for some reason. It's kind of hard to tell if it's like she's afraid or just angry with him. We don't know. Like it's very mysterious. She doesn't give him any answers. He's asking like, "Hey, what's up? What's going on?" So, and then that's when the goons step in to kind of escort him out, and the fight breaks out again. But it ends with him kind of going back to, I guess, it's his handler or employer maybe, or it's presumed it's the guy that kind of made the suit or invented the suit, or I'm not sure what the significance of the suit is. That's not made clear. Meaning, is it just a suit, or does it enhance you somehow, like make you bulletproof? That's not made clear, right? We already see that Isom is pretty strong.
Yeah,
He's powerful. He's tough. Like he can take a beating, right? He can be slammed from 50 or 100 feet in the air into a car and survive, right? So he's obviously very durable and strong. We don't know the extent of his strength. Like we never see him do any like physical feats such as lifting something really heavy, right? Things like that. We just see him fight. So it's almost like he's a somewhat of a Captain America type or something,
yeah,
where he's strong, but he's not like superhero strong, right? He's just a very well in shape athlete, athletic, or just beyond athletic, right? Type of hero. So, and also we're not even sure if he's an actual hero in this issue. It doesn't really make it clear if he's, he could have been an anti-hero, right? Because his demeanor is very brash, right?
yeah.
um, and so he doesn't come off as a sort of quote unquote good guy, right? Like you would think of a Steve Rogers or something like that, right? Like he doesn't seem to have that type of persona. He's more gruff and direct, and he does have. It seems like he does have sort of a chip on his shoulder, especially when he runs into this old friend who's this big time club owner, and obviously he's into nefarious business dealings. It's pretty clear.
So
Um,
what was so one of the just to interject. So
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
the sort of, I guess you want to call it conflict, because from my understanding, the relationship between Isom and the guy you're talking about is like, or at least from my understanding, the guy doesn't like Isom because he doesn't feel like he's using his abilities to his full potential or whatever.
Yeah, and also that he sees him as sort of a quitter, I guess, or like like you're not someone, because he did quit, I guess, being a hero or whatever. So, and it was kind of under mysterious circumstances. It's not made clear why, right?
Yeah,
So I guess there's a loss of respect for that, right, in that relation. So yeah, and it's clear they don't have a very good history with each other anyway, right? It sounds like they were somewhat more rivals, and maybe even adversaries, even before all these things took place, right?
yeah,
So yeah, this guy doesn't. It's clear he doesn't like him really, and Isom definitely doesn't like him. So there's a mutual dislike here, and so it's kind of like, okay, so you kind of know he's setting up like there's going to be a big showdown with these guys somehow, right? That's definitely got to be coming in issue 2 or 3 or whatever, right?
yeah,
Because they just don't like each other at all. So, um, and I can tell you that it does continue in issue 2, and yeah, but yeah, the overall issue 1, it's a lot. It's a lot of things happening, and that was one of my criticisms of the story is that it feels like there's just a lot of things happening, but those things that are happening, like the fights and everything, while it's cool action. Um, it feels like kind of where is it going? Like, is it foreshadowing something? You know, I'm not sure. And it's definitely not within this issue. So there's no like foreshadowing in that sense, right? There's like there's no real payoffs. I'll put it that way, right? Like
yeah,
they set him up to go after this friend, and I'll be honest, and I'm saying this off the top of my head, right? So I don't have any like notes, but I don't even recall the significance of this girl insofar as like, is she an old girlfriend, or was she a childhood friend, or um like it's not really clear. It's a matter of like, clearly she's a friend. Is she
right,
the sister? Is she, like, what is her significance? It's not really made clear. And even once he does run into her at the club, like I said, it's still incredibly mysterious, right? She doesn't answer his questions, and she almost kind of runs from him, right? Like, so the question is she brainwashed? Could it be some type of brainwashing that's happened, and you know, she actually didn't even know who he was or didn't recognize it, right? Like, it could be something like that, I suppose. But it's a lot of mystery in that, which is fine. But like I said, it's not really paid off, right? And we're not sure. It's like all the conflict that occurs. It's like, well, did he even really have to happen that way? you know, versus
yeah. I
he
would
could have
say,
went and just kind of waited outside for a few hours and just watched and to see if she shows up, and she does show up, right? So you know, it's kind of like he's no detective. Like, that's, we can check, cross that off the list. Isom is not a detective, right? He is
yeah,
a guy that goes in guns blazing. Like, he's a bulldozer, right? Which is fine. That's if that's his character. That's his character. And then beyond that, once he gets the suit, there's a few sort of extra pages at the end, and there's like a concert, and there's some mysterious characters that are introduced who, I think, yeah, it's called Norfrica, and it's insinuated that maybe they're aliens or something, or they're from another world or another dimension, or, so that's kind of interesting, and I like that, like this sort of extra scene, so to speak, just like in the movies, right? This extra scene at the end that kind of teases more characters and a more interesting story. And of course, at the end, you also get another tease for Yaira. She was introduced earlier in the story under, once again, very mysterious circumstances. They kind of fly into each other, and she, tosses him into a car. So she doesn't come off as a very friendly person herself, right? So yes, so far we haven't had any heroes who are friendly.
No,
They're not friendly. They're not.
that one. I don't know. I guess that wouldn't bother me. I guess so. I also read issue one,
Yeah,
and I just thought it was kind of confusing because, like you said, stuff just kind of happens,
yeah,
and there's no real payoff. Because initially when I went in reading, I was getting the sense that this was going to be like Aesop's character was going to be this sort of fusion of Mister Incredible and Luke Cage, in the sense
yeah,
that he
yeah.
was,
That was actually yeah, kind of my impression as well. Like,
and
coming out of retirement and having to kind of get back into
yeah,
the
and
hero.
like you don't really get the sense that I feel like there's too much mystery because you don't really know. A, you don't know why he retired. B, you don't. There's no real incentive for him. You don't know what. We don't really know what motivated him to retire. And C, like we don't really.
Yeah.
There's
Well, yeah,
nothing really
that's a good
that
point. There's
motivates him.
no like, for example, and well, even in the comics, generally when you have a situation like that, there's a sort of flashback or something, or where you
Yeah,
get a little bit of something, where it's like, oh, there was something like this involved, or this person, or and then you go back to the present, and so it's like you didn't really get that in this verse where there's something like a flashback or even a character that knew him until the end where he goes back to the handler, I guess, who knew him prior, right? And they kind of give some type of hint or even a little exposition where it's like, oh, all this kind of stuff, right? And it's like, oh, we don't really get any of that. You just kind of accept that there's a guy, he used to be a hero, and no, he's not, but he's asked to kind of intervene in this mysterious situation of a missing adult
yeah,
female, and he, and this is the thing. It's key to understand that he escalates everything,
yeah.
right? Like for example,
I was gonna
when he
say
first comes
he's
up, it's
didn't he,
not like they just outright attacked him. Like, oh man, he's coming, let's stop him. It was more like, here he is, come in, sit down, let's have a conversation, and it gets hostile, and then they're like, okay, you need to leave, and he doesn't want to leave, right? Because he didn't get the answers he wants, and so it's like, and fights ensue, of course, because he did not want to leave, and
yeah.
then
'Cause I was gonna say, didn't he start the fight?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. He starts the fight, like everything that happens, he escalates, which I don't think is necessarily inherently bad. So I just think that
It's
it's kind of
not, but it's,
interesting to
I don't
see
know.
it. Like, yeah, it's
It,
almost like
it doesn't make
like,
him
look,
look heroic. That's the thing.
yeah, it doesn't make him look heroic. That's a very good statement.
Like there's
Oh,
nothing outside of him looking for the I guess the missing girl. There's nothing really. He doesn't really do anything in the story that makes me think, man, this guy used to be a superhero. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's exactly right. There's no save the
I
cat
guess.
moment, so to speak. Yeah, but
Yeah.
Ross May makes an interesting point. So I think the missing person search plot is a red herring. I think you have
Even,
a point.
even if
It
it's a
might
red
just be
herring,
like a side story that it's an excuse to get him back into the game, right?
yeah, but even if it's a red herring, I think that even within the red herring, there could have been some sort of it could have been a tool for us to learn more about Isom himself, and that doesn't really happen. We still don't know
Yeah,
anything about
and
Isom.
and that's true. He says what I can't tell is if that was intentional by the author, and that's true. And that's kind of part of the ambiguity, right? It's like, so are we? Is this just a MacGuffin type of deal where he's supposed to search for the girl, but inadvertently discovers this greater plot,
Yeah,
this greater thing going on, and the girl was just an excuse to get him, and he ultimately rescues her, but now there's this bigger issue he has to deal with, right? Um, but once again, I don't really get that sense. And even in reading, I'm about halfway through issue two, and I still don't really know what's going on. You know, like how everything fits together. It's
yeah,
still a kind of big mystery, which may not be inherently a bad thing. It's just, but there's so much, like I said, it's a 90 something page, 96 page, 94-page book. So there's so much going on, but it's like maybe it's a little too much because I think a lot of it is kind of necessary because it doesn't seem to set up anything later.
yeah. It doesn't set
So
up Isom as a character, or and it just introduces a lot of stuff because it looks cool, but there's no real function outside of that. Because like
yeah,
the whole thing with the Alpha Corps, that's supposed to be like the superhero police, right?
yeah,
And
yeah. They get it. That's what I forgot to mention that Alpha Core gets introduced briefly along with Yaira. Right there, it seems like
yeah,
they're
like, but
pursuing
why?
it. So
But
yeah,
then
we don't know why. We don't know, you know, why are they adversaries? So it almost insinuates that perhaps Yaira is a bad guy because she's the one who's fleeing, right? You know, and generally speaking, bad guys run away. Heroes confront, right, and try to stop the bad guy. And that's the impression you get with Alpha Core is they must be the heroes because they're going after this other accept, and she's running away, right?
right,
She's not, and it doesn't appear to like she's regrouping. It's like because think about it, if it's a hero, who runs away from the bad guys? Right? You don't, right? You're a hero, so that's
right,
why it's like the presumption is, oh, this is probably not a hero, right? Or at best, it's another anti-hero, similar to Isom, I guess, in that sense, right? Um, where Rasmin says Isom is definitely not an aspirational hero, but that's not an issue for me. Yeah, fair enough. I mean,
that's not
yeah,
really an issue though. Like
yeah,
it's
that's a fair point. He doesn't have to be a aspirational or altruistic hero. He can be an anti-hero or just this gruff character that's rough around the edges, and that's fine. I agree, and I think part of the critique of that is, excuse me, is
we don't learn why he's that way though.
yeah, we don't know why, and we do in issue two. I won't say why, but in my opinion, when it's revealed in issue two, it still falls flat to me. Like it doesn't seem like it's a good reason to be the way he appears to be. Like I feel like there should be more to it than what's revealed. So, but we can talk about that next week. I don't want to, do too much. But ISOM one, I would say on a scale of like 1 to 10, it's a solid like 6. Um, it's a good read. It is fun. The art is pretty decent, although it does feel a bit flat on certain pages. Like there's a great page with him smashed against a car. That's a great page. I think that should have been a two-page layout instead of it's a single page. So because it's just such a very intense type of moment, right? And it's like, yo, this dude smashed two cars. You're almost like, is he dead? Right? And it's the art just looks really cool. It's a great angle and everything. So I think that should have been like a two-page spread. So, and that's another thing too in relation to the layout and art. There aren't. I don't think there's any two-page spreads. Like that. I think there are some moments that could have been and maybe should have been, and they weren't. Like when he was fighting the Except the second time, there's a couple of panels where it's like that could have been a full, like a big page where
Yeah,
he's like kicking him in the back or something. Like and there's one here where he's like I guess they're charging at each other, like, and it's just before they're gonna impact, and it's this big flash, and it's kind of like and even that kind of falls flat because the next panel, it's almost like they just kind of swooshed past each other, so they don't look like they hit at all. So I think that should have been a full spread where you know you build up the tension, and then the next page would have been like an actual punch, like or a kick or something, and you're like, whoa, right? Like, but we don't really get that, and it's kind of condensed down to these smaller panels. But I feel like this is supposed to be a big fight, right? Like this is a big showdown with this Except who's way bigger than he is, right? And obviously probably way stronger, and but it's like you don't really get that. It's like I said, a lot of small panels of punches and kicks, and he gets tossed around, and ultimately it seems like he overcomes, but even that, it's almost like okay, it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's somewhat anticlimactic, I guess.
Yeah. Right.
It's like because you can tell. I think the tension is he's trying to take this guy down. He's got to give it his all, but that's not really conveyed very well. Like it's so just so, like nitpicks, really nitpicks. They're not like major buzz kills, but I would say that was something I would have liked to have seen, like more sort of big pages, big spreads, especially with these bigger moments with the fight and everything.
Hmm.
But and more I don't know, even with the fights, like there's some like sound effects are given, but they don't seem very bombastic. Like it's comics, right? So when you get that whoomp or with a whomp, you it should be big. It should be like in your face. Even this one where they're coming at each other, there's no sound effect. Like there's nothing. Like maybe it could be like I don't know a whoosh or I don't know. I'm just like it's just something that kind of
Right. Whoosh.
gives us increases the intensity. That's what I'm saying. Because
No, I agree. Yeah.
and there's very little breaking of the panels. Um, there's a few here and there, but it's not done very much. And thing is with this fight, and I'm looking specifically at the pages where he's fighting. Those are great opportunities where you can do that. You can bust through the panels and really like go to town and like make it dynamic and get these weird perspectives and
It's supposed to
you
be a
know
very shattering kaboom. Yeah.
yeah. So that's all. Like especially if you want to convey that this like with the car, like I said, that should have been 2 pages. But man, yeah, like you get a sense that okay, this guy's tough. Like he's smashing his car. The car is all damaged, and he's essentially he's still alive. Because you see in the next pages he's in the hospital and all that, and he walks out. He escapes. So it's like okay, yeah, this guy's pretty tough. Like he's made of some powerful stuff, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, but that's not conveyed very well with the layout, right? Like you want to convey like this guy is powerful. So when he punches you, you're gonna feel it. You know, so that's kind of even when he fights like what appear to be regular guys, especially in the initial confrontation. It's like I'm thinking like, yeah, some of these guys should probably be dead from being punched by him. Like, you understand? Like if he could take out, I mean, unless he's like really holding back, and that's possible, right? He could be holding back when he knows like, oh, these guys are superhuman, so I can't just like hit them any old kind of way.
Right.
You know? But it's not indicated, right? Like it'd be nice to like it makes you think of Spider-Man and Doc Ock, where there was an issue where Doc Ock took on his Spider-Man's persona for a while, and he realized in taking on his like he was limited
Oh yeah,
in his
you're talking
body.
about the Superior Spider-Man.
Yeah, and he realized being in his body just how strong Spider-Man really was, and it blew his mind because he realized all the battles they had. He's like he could have killed
He
me.
could have killed me.
The kind
Yeah.
of restraint that he had, and that's what I mean. Like it needs to be something like that where there's a
Yeah.
third party
No, I know what you're
that's
talking
looking at
about.
Isom and going, bro, like you need to chill or dude, like you know what I mean? Like just to emphasize that, yeah, Isom is a powerful dude, and you don't. It's kind of imbalanced because it's like, okay, he takes out regular guys, but then he fights this Except, who's huge. Like the guy is like a giant, right?
Yeah.
And so it does take more effort. You see that, but it's not, like I said, it's just not emphasized very much. Of like, just how intense this is. Like, just how strong is this guy? Maybe he's just very tall, and that's it. He's really not that much stronger, right? So, like, there's a panel where he's literally grabbing him, Isom by the arm, and like smashing him into the ground, like Loki did with the Hulk did with
Oh,
Loki, the
Loki. Yeah.
Avengers, right? And it's kind of okay, yeah, okay. This guy's, you know what I mean. He seems Hulk like, I suppose. He's like tossing around with one arm. So it's like things like that should be like big panels. Like, so that's kind of all I'm saying. Is like I said, it's nitpicking, but you know. But overall, yeah, I give it a
That's
solid
particular.
6.
I think that's pretty. Like, I feel like that's a pretty fair, uh, thing to say about a comic. Is yeah, the action should feel like action. You know.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Yeah, just really play it up because that's kind of why one of the big reasons why we're reading it is, at least for me, I'll speak for myself, but yeah, I read like superhero comics, which are my favorite genre of comics, for the big bombastic fights and power, uh, examples of power and strength and all that kind of stuff. So, um, yeah, but see, Rosmain says the club fight versus normal dudes. Drawings implied serious internal injuries. That's true. Yeah, yeah. There was a few panels where you can see like, okay, yeah, like there's some broken ribs or spine or something. But that's what I mean. Like, it'd be nice to kind of emphasize. Like, wouldn't it be cool if when he punched a regular guy and there's like this sort of X-ray shot of his spine cracking or something, or his
Yeah.
ribs, or to show like, oh, he hit him really hard, right? But at the same time, once again, we're back to, man, that's not very heroic, right? That's just regular
Well,
people. You're like putting him out of commission like forever, right? So, but it's fine. It's just um, and what are the as is there's like there's a third party. There's a sister, right? Then his handler, but it's like none of them comment about really about all that, right? Like what are
yeah.
you doing? Why are you hurting people? Or I don't know. So I don't know. It's interesting. Um, but yeah, like I said, it's a story where things are happening. There's fights, and there's a missing person that he finds. I'm kind of wondering, like when he found her, why didn't he just grab her and just run away? Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know.
I'm gonna be real. I don't. I feel like a 6 out of 10 is pretty generous. I'm not saying that to be a jerk because I was looking forward to ISOM. I read the first issue and I came out more confused than anything.
Yeah,
And it's kind of hard to the first issue is important because like the fact that like we couldn't accurately it's everything shouldn't be so vague. I think there's a difference between setting up a mystery and
and just basic ambiguity, like just about,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that's the question: is was it intentional or was it?
Well, once the way everything played out, it doesn't feel intentional. Even if it was intentional,
Yeah,
it has to feel intentional. So, like, what?
yeah.
I haven't done this in a while. In JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, uh, one of my favorite part. Anybody who's read JoJo's Bizarre, Part 4, Diamonds and Break was my favorite part. And the whole thing is, and I think you've watched Part 4 already, right?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
So yeah, that was my personal favorite chapter because it's the whole thing is a murder mystery.
Yeah,
And
the
way
whole
that
entire season is one. It's funny how, because when you're watching maybe the first half or so,
yeah,
it's almost like, okay, where's this going, right? But then by the time you get to certain episodes, you realize, oh, it's all connected,
yeah,
right? But then now you're wondering, okay, so how is it connected now? I know it is connected. Now it's like how are they going to bring this home? And then by the
Right,
time
but even in the first episode, like you already get what like the first you already the first within the first two episodes, which in the manga is like the first book of the manga. You already get a sense of like where the story is going. Right, it's a sleepy town that's full of you
yeah,
know,
that's true. Right, you already get that. Okay, this is a small town. It's a small community, and there's weird things happening. There's weird
and
people.
there are
You know,
bad people hidden amongst the good people,
yeah,
and
and
you
so
figure
yeah, they
out.
do set that up. It's just you're just kind of like, okay, so what? And it's
But
not until you really it pulls you into every episode because every episode there's more mystery to figure out. Like, okay, who's this guy? Why did he do what he did? And you know,
but even
it
in
does
spite of that,
build
though,
up very well. Yeah,
you still get a sense of who the characters are, though, right? Like Josuke,
yeah, yeah,
you know who he like. You know, there's no ambiguity on who he is. You find out that spoiler on this I don't know 34-year-old comic. He's you find out that he's Joseph's illegitimate son, right? And the way he responds is hey, don't let me be a burden on this guy because like he's gonna leave his inheritance and stuff. And it's like you already get a sense that yeah he looks like he because he got like a fancy pompadour and swanky clothes, like he looks like a show off, but he's actually very humble. And you get the
yeah,
sense,
yeah.
yeah,
It is. It's
and you
yeah,
get a sense that he has a sense of justice, right? Because his grandfather was a police in the
right.
community, and after he dies, he pretty much takes up the mantle of his grandfather, sort of protecting the town and stuff like that. And so you get all that. You get payoffs where there need to be payoffs. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
While still keeping
I agree. It's so well done, and then especially by the time you get to the end and
yeah. By the
bigger
time you get
the
to the end,
bigger
the whole
overarching
town
mystery
is involved.
is solved. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
really really compelling, and I agree. And it's like it's kind of missing in issue one that overarching. Like I kind of feel like there should have been a resolution within this. You know, even though it continues, like there should have been something where that was set up at the beginning that gets paid off by the
Yeah.
end.
Even
And,
Scooby Doo understands this. Like in
yeah,
Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated, I don't know if you ever saw that one, but like
yeah, I've seen it.
there are smaller mysteries, right? But then there's this bigger overarching mystery. So every small mystery they solve, they get a clue to this bigger mystery, right?
Yeah,
So there's
yeah,
always a
exactly.
payoff, even
And
when
yeah,
there's stuff from one
each
mystery.
one builds on top of, and that's I think that's the goal here.
But that
But
that, that
I
doesn't
think
happen
the
though.
problem is that it's each issue is building on top of each other.
More mysteries that
But
don't get solved. Okay.
right, that's what I mean. But the individual issue doesn't resolve with there. In other words, nothing's resolved within the first issue, right? Because it leaves you kind of hanging. Like okay, like I said, for example, the fact that she shows up isn't a resolution,
Yeah.
right? You just know okay, she's alive.
Even the fact that I saw him eventually beats up, the guy. It's like we don't. It doesn't really resolve. There's no character arc resolved in doing so. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. There's nothing about it. Like I almost feel like the except that he fights the big guy, he should have been the childhood rival, not the casino owner guy, the club owner. In other words, the
Dude.
club owner should have been just a random, snake in the grass mobster guy, right? That
Yeah.
happens to employ the girl he's looking for, and he doesn't care. Whenever he's like, well, what do you care about her? Like, what are you, a cop or something, right? But
Yeah.
then here comes the accept, and it's like, yo, you remember me from high school? We were rivals, right? But we hated each other too, and this and that. So now they're going toe to toe again as adults who are accepts, right? And it's like, so I feel like the tension should have been between them because they're battling each other,
Right.
and so it would have been like he gets the best of them the first time, and it could have been like some comments made like, just like old times, man, I used to kick your butt, right? Whatever, right? and then he comes back again. It's like, no, I'm gonna take this, and that's where his ego comes in as Isom, and he's like, no, I'm gonna take this guy down. Like, I'm gonna find her, right, find the girl, but I'm also gonna take this dude down, right, and that's where the tension is higher now because it's like, oh, he's got to take this guy down, not just to save the girl, but also because this dude's a jerk, right? He's an
Yeah.
old nemesis, an old rival, so he's got to prove that he still got it. He's got to prove that he's better. He's a better man, right? That would have been like way more intense of a fight if that were the dynamic, right, that existed. Versus because, like I say, he never confronts the club owner again, like the mob guy.
No.
So it's like, okay, like what did you accomplish beating up a bunch of guys, right? Like, for example, it almost made me think of Walking Tall, right? The movie, either version, but I'm thinking of a newer version with The Rock. But it's like, what made the rivalry with The Rock and the casino owner significant was that they were all native to that town, right? And they were always kind of these rivals, and they never really liked each other. And you understand?
Right.
So when he finally goes toe to toe with this guy, it's very satisfying to see him win, right? When he's taken down like other friends and all this stuff, others are paid off and compromised, like people that he grew up with, and it gets frustrating, right? And then I think his dad like has a heart attack, stuff like that, right? And it's like it's very personal now, right? So it's not just about save the town and all this kind of stuff. It's like, no, this is personal. Like, this dude has got to go, and so it's way more satisfying because of that. It's not just this guy against a random mob boss guy, right? It's
Yeah.
this guy versus, yes, a mob boss guy who's corrupt and he's corrupt in the town, but also he's this rival from just childhood as well, and that means something, and I kind of feel like that was maybe a missed opportunity. So, I mean, we'll see how it all plays out, right? Maybe they will confront, physically fight each other. Maybe we'll find out this guy's the club owner or whatever is accept himself, like, and he hasn't revealed it. Who knows, right?
Hmm.
So that'd be interesting to see, in the coming issues. But yeah, I'm sticking with solid six. The art is decent. I feel like some of it's a bit flat, and I think what could have helped is opening up some of the panels, doing some 2-page stuff. Like there's one where he's falling, and it's like he breaks the borders of the panels, and that's pretty nice. So there's some nice stuff in here. I just wish there was more, like and like bigger, more kind of bombastic. But yeah,
Yeah.
overall, it's like I said, it's a lot of things happening, and you just have to, it's almost like you just kind of have to trust that the things that are happening is going to get paid off in the second issue or hopefully the third issue, right?
And I get that, but I feel like it's the author's job to convince you to want to wait for that payoff. And there's nothing really because we don't get a solid understanding of Islam's motivations and stuff like that. There's nothing really that that's hooking me to want to see the payoff, right? Because I don't
Yeah, yeah, that's
understand. So, like with
yeah, I agree with that. There's not much. And like I said, he finds her, and I guess that's what throws me off too in the story is that she just shows up, and it's clear, like maybe she's afraid to speak, or like I said, maybe she's brainwashed. I don't know, but that's not indicated, and I still wonder, like, well, once you found her, why didn't you just grab her and run? Like,
yeah,
it's clear these guys are shady. They're trying to kill you just to not answer your question of where is she, right?
yeah,
So obviously something's up. So
yeah,
why not just grab her and just like get the hell out of there, and then get her somewhere safe, and in secret, and then you can question her and figure out what's going, something. I don't know, but Rosmain, once again, is that conclusiveness in a first issue correct? Because we as longtime readers expect it, or is it really the right way? Um,
Are you referring to ISOM or are you referring
what he's
to?
saying, like, does a story have to have a conclusion, and is it something we expect because we're just longtime readers and something we used to, or is it the right way to do it? And um, you know, I agree. I don't think there's a quote unquote right way. Like it's the only way. There's nothing wrong with cliffhangers and kind of leaving you hanging on something. I guess the reality is though it has to be done a certain way so that even in that there's a bit of satisfaction, right? Like
Yeah,
you're
I would say yeah, there is a right way to do it because, like I said, even if you want to leave a cliffhanger, there still has to be some sort of arc that gets resolved, even if it's a small one. Whether it's a question that gets answered about somebody's character, or we learn more about, you know, if it's a like you're with a mystery, you're essentially it's like solving pieces to a puzzle, right? So it's like yeah, these we want the smaller puzzles at least to be resolved, so we get to see the bigger puzzle. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And also, like once again, if I don't care about the character or his motivations, then why would I care about whether the mystery gets solved? Right? Like with JoJo's Bizarre Diamonds Unbreakable, I want to see. So we know that the overarching mystery is there is a serial killer on the loose, and somehow he has stand powers. He has the psychic abilities, basically, and
yeah,
we have to find out who the serial killer is and how do he get those powers. And but the reason why you want to stick with the story isn't just so you could solve the murder mystery, but you also want to see Josuke get reunited with his father, or meet his father for the first time, and
right,
see how that plays out emotionally. You
yeah,
also want to see him avenge
yeah.
his
His friend,
grandfather who
yeah,
raised
yeah.
him,
Well,
and
well, yeah. I mean, there's layers, right?
yeah,
Um, but that's what I'm saying. It's
with,
like,
with ISOM, there's no real setup for that. We don't like
yeah,
why
there's
should I
no
care if
layers. Yeah.
ISOM? You know what I'm saying?
Like a resolution, like I said, could have been, and Rosamund says, put Jasmine in the sack and go. Yeah, that would have been a resolution, though. That would have been like,
Oh,
oh, he found her.
I thought
You
that was just an old
know,
folksy saying. Like sometimes you just gotta put Jasmine in a second girl, like Jasmine Rice.
no, but it makes it's like not necessarily her just show up, but what if he goes back to the club, right? The goons come out, they try to stop him. He plows through them easily. Then here comes the big Accept, who's an old friend, right? That old rival, and they go at it, right? And he finally overcomes and not takes this guy out. He's out cold. He rushes into the club, kicks in the door, and maybe Jasmine's there in a room. I don't know. Maybe she's tied up. Maybe she's, I don't know. Hopefully not. Maybe compromised. Situation. Who knows, right? Or just has a gun to her head by some goon, right? And he takes him out, and he's like, "Come on, let's go." And she's like, "No, you can't," And he's like, "Come on, now, we got to get out of here," right? And they get out, and that's kind of where it concludes, right? And then aftermath, reunited with the sister, and he sees his niece and all this kind of stuff, and she's hiding out in her home or something, right? And now she's like, "You don't know what you did. This is bigger than me," right? And that's where it stops. Right, that's then you do your the rest of your introducing the other characters, but you see what I'm saying, like now okay, satisfying ending, he found the girl, but there's a bigger issue beyond her now. There's something bigger. You don't know what you just did. Like he's gonna come after me, he's gonna come after you now, right? Now you're a target, something like that. I don't but you understand, like now we get a conclusion, right? And it's more satisfying, and now then you go to him getting his suit, because now he has a reason to get the suit, because he knows, okay, this is deeper than just a missing friend now, right? This is getting more serious, even if he didn't recover her, but he almost gets her, and then something happens, they snatch her away, out of the building. He can't get to it because there's more exceps or something, and then they blow up the building or something. I don't know. You understand? Now he's knocked out cold. He wakes up. He's barely able to get away and evade the police. And it's like, okay, something's up here. This is way more than just, like I saw her. She's there. They have her, but they won't let her go. Like you understand what I'm saying? And then he goes to get like there's like a million and one ways that could have went where you know it would have been a satisfying conclusion to this arc, but then it leaves it open to there's going to be more coming. There's more adventure. The mystery's not solved yet, right? And that's we didn't really get that, you know. So, uh, Rosmain says that's fair reasoning. Just dropping the search plot with the girl just showing up on her own was a letdown. Yeah, I agree. That's a good way to put it. It was a letdown because it seemed a bit confusing. Because, like I said, I'm like, okay, and that's the thing. It's like there's mystery in that, and mystery is good. But sometimes, especially when there's so much mystery, and this is a brand new universe, like we're entering this cold. It's like that should have been some type of payoff, and there wasn't. Like there's no word spoken, nothing. Like even if she had just said, "Leave me alone," something like that. It would have been like what? And then the goons come and they start fighting, right? And then she walks away. Now you're like, oh man, like maybe she's working with this guy, like maybe she's there, she's part of the scheme or whatever, right? And now he really wants answers. Like, wait a minute, why haven't you called anybody? Why haven't you like what's going on, right? Who knows? Maybe it's a cult. I don't know. Yeah, but you understand?
Yeah.
It's like at least there would be something there, but we don't get anything. It's kind of like she just doesn't say anything. She walks away. And it's like okay, and then he still fights to what end? I don't know. Because he runs away, right? You know, so it's kind of like yeah, like what was the point? I don't know. It does leave you hanging, and but yeah, I agree. It was a bit of a letdown because it was so easy. It was so convenient. Like, oh, here she is. She just and that's why I said like yeah, he could have just pulled up in his truck and just sat out there, with a pair of binoculars and just watched. Who's going in, who's going out, right? You know, and that's you probably could have even found a patron coming out, and just say, hey, here's $100. Go back in there and see if you see this girl, and he has a picture of her. And they just come out an hour later and go, no, I haven't seen her. Oh yeah, I saw her. She's doing this, right? Like, but like I said, clearly Isam is not a detective, so
No.
you know. And yeah, you're right, Razman. The story hasn't followed up on it, right? And so far in two, right, it still hasn't answered that question, right? So, like I said, I haven't finished yet, so maybe it will by the end, you know. So we'll see. But so far, it's kind of taken me on a whole other, set of adventures with other characters other than Isop. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, oh, okay. So I kind of feel like I'm lost, right? Like I'm kind of just flailing in this story. But we'll see how it comes together. Hopefully, in two, and I'll try to finish it this week. Then we can talk about it next week, God willing. So, but yeah, I recommend it. If you're looking for something new, um, something somewhat different, it is different. Than a lot as far as the mainstream, right? Um, and if you want to just support independent comics, I encourage you. You know, it's a beautiful book. It's well made. The pages are nice. It's a nice looking book. I'm not even exaggerating. And like I said, the art generally overall looks really solid. It looks really good. So I say go for it if you're interested. I don't think you'll regret it. Those are just my opinions, my take. You may have a different take. I've read other reviews from other people. A lot of people love it. Most people say it's an okay story. You know, they say it's not the best I've ever read, but it's okay. And
Uh,
that's fine. It's the first one out the gate, so. Um, it's not going to always be bullseye, right? But yeah, so that's it in regards to ISOM. We're going to talk about something else regarding the Transformers. So we're going from superheroes,
Oh
um,
yeah, I
comics to
saw
robots transforming and animation. Right?
I saw the first trailer for the second trailer. Well, I saw both trailers. I wasn't convinced by the first trailer, but the actual second trailer definitely looks a lot cooler. Um, I do appreciate that the Transformers actually look like they do in you know the old cartoon, and I think exploring a universe where Optimus Prime and Megatron used to be friends could be interesting. I don't think that's uh, too far fetched of an idea. I'm curious where they go with it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing, and we were talking about this earlier, um, is the idea of being able to transform. Apparently, is a special ability, I guess, in a sense, in the world of the Autobots, right?
Yeah, it seems
Transformers,
that there are
like a
robots
class
that
thing
can
or something.
transform and robots who can't.
Yeah, and like I guess you're special if you can transform. That's the impression I get from both trailers, right? Is that they start off as they can't transform, and then they something happens, some magical something gives them the ability to transform, and it leads to an adventure where obviously eventually Prime and Megatron part ways, right, become enemies. So I don't know. It's I'm hoping that that'll be kind of filled in, um, and I don't know where it's from. I've never heard of that with in relation to the Transformers, unless it's in the comics or something, maybe. Uh,
Yeah, I'm curious to where they're going to go with it. Outside of that, the animation looks really cool.
yeah.
Uh,
Overall, it's beautiful.
yeah,
Uh, it really is. It's it looks well produced, and I have to admit,
I like the
it's
world.
fun.
Everything looks cool.
It looks fun. It's fun.
Yeah,
There's some funny gags in the trailers. I got it. It got me to chuckle. I'm like, like okay, that's kind of funny, right?
yeah.
So it's not bad. I mean, overall, it looks cool. It looks fun. I wish this is the direction they would have went initially with the Michael Bay stuff, right? Like just went
Well,
straight
it was the early
animation and just did
2000s,
CGI.
and
You know,
comic book cartoon adaptations of properties were seen as, oh, we have to make it look edgy for the movie. I mean, that's kind of why they changed the X-Men costumes, right?
I guess so. I mean, yeah, they changed how they transform. I never liked it. It's so like I don't even know. It's so maybe it's because I'm old. I'm just an old man, shouting at the clouds.
No, I mean, well,
So, like they should transform like that. You know,
are you talking about the movies?
yeah, in the movies, like it's
Well,
just
which one? Because the way they transformed in I would say the way they transform in the first two movies are awesome because you get to see every single part
I hated it.
of the robot.
It's too
Like
much.
over after a while, it gets like to the
Yeah, it
point
gets
where
even worse, right?
yeah, or it's like you can't even tell. Like they just got lazy with it. But I would argue in the first movie they made an effort to like actually show off like you know because that's the appeal of Transformers is you get to see every like where each part of the robot goes into the vehicle, and I think they did a really good job of that in the first one, especially with the Decepticons. Like when they first introduced the helicopter, and like that was terrifying because like it's transforming into a giant robot. I thought that was awesome. No, you can argue.
I
I
didn't.
say
I
I
didn't,
think
I don't
it
like conflict.
sure got lazier with the each movie, but I think for the
I never liked it. I I like the old school '80s. OG, the way they transform, it just to me it looks better, and it would have been nice to have seen that translated in CGI, right? And I've seen fan made Transformer, characters, scenes, and short movies that look way better in my opinion. So where they got the transform right, like it looks like Gen One, So like I said, it's probably because I'm just an old man who grew up watching the Gen One Transformers, you know, and I'm just stuck in my ways, right? I'm willing to
Yeah,
admit that, So, but I just think it looks better. So seeing this
I think
is
the
encouraging
reason
because
why
it looks better than me.
well, I think the only thing that would play a part against it is the fact that um, the Transformers in the Michael Bay verse, whatever you want to call it, they looked too humanoid, and this especially was true by the time we get to like Transformers 3.
Well, yeah, I
But
mean, Optimus Prime had lips.
yeah, that was that was weird. Yeah,
We should have pulled a Sonic the Hedgehog on Michael Bay.
I don't know about all that,
Like
but
drag him on the internet for that. Like, why does Optimus Prime have lips?
well,
Like for real. Then they would have. They eventually did change it though. They didn't by like the third or fourth movie. He had,
well, he wears his mask more
yeah,
often.
he had the face shield or whatever, which was way better. So I give him that. But yeah, it's like, come on, man. But I don't know. I mean, if you like it, you like it. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not like dissing anybody, but I prefer the Gen One transformation style. I think it looks cool. It still looks cool now. It looks even better when you're looking at newer, fresher, CGI animation. It just looks awesome to me. So it's nice seeing it in this. I'm kind of excited about it. I gotta admit, it looks pretty cool. It looks fun. So I don't know. Is it? Do you know if it's PG-13? I guess.
That's a good also yeah, his name was his name Blackout, Rushman. Yeah, Blackout. That was the helicopter from
Oh, okay.
the
Yeah, yeah.
movie. But yeah, I actually don't know the rating of the new Transformers movie.
Yeah, I
It
don't
is
see it. Oh, it's PG. It's PG. Yeah.
PG. Okay, yeah, it's PG, but in the trailer, Optimus flips somebody off. So
Yeah, that's why I asked. I'm like, is this PG-13 or I mean, unless PG
that
is
was a little weird.
they've relaxed the rules for PG. I guess. I mean, that's possible.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
But because I was like,
I don't
yo,
know. I don't know. Maybe it'll change. I don't know.
I mean, it's a funny, it's a funny
It
gag.
was, but it was like
Is
it
this supposed to be family friendly or what? I don't know.
kind of threw me off.
Yeah, exactly. I was a little surprised by that, but yeah, overall it looks good. Looks fun. I'm hoping it's a good story. But like I said, that whole trans, I guess like what I remember from the Gen One was they always transformed, but they just transformed into alien style vehicles, right?
Yeah,
And then when they crashed on Earth through Teletran One, it was like, well, we need to find a suitable form that will protect them from Earth's, environment or whatever, right, and allow them to blend in and all this stuff. So he scans these vehicles, right, that you know closely match what they were already transforming as, right?
right.
And hence we get the OG Transformers, right? Optimus Prime's a Diesel and all this stuff. And the same with the Decepticons, right? They ended up being military style jets, right? And
Right.
so, so it had nothing to do with like you know some type of status. Like from what I understood, they were always Transformers. Like that's just what they are, right? So I don't know. It's kind of. I mean, I'm curious just to see kind of like where that goes. Like, what's maybe it has something to do with like the All Spark and all that kind of stuff. Maybe it's something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
You know, that'd be interesting. Yeah, like maybe half the population is non or just robots, and the other half are transformers, and the transformers are like upper
I wonder,
class or something. Or,
wonder if they're trying to do a My Hero thing where it's uh, or Megatron, because Megatron was among the ones who couldn't transform at first. So I wonder if he's going to try to take advantage of that, and that's how he forms the Decepticons. Like, hey, uh, all the transforming robots think they're better than you.
ah,
You know what I'm
that's
saying?
interesting. I see. So you mean from the trailer? It looks like he couldn't transform, but
Well, yeah,
then
because it
yeah,
was
I see.
Optimus Prime, Megatron, Bumblebee, and
RC.
R2, right?
Yeah,
Or was it just Optimus that couldn't transform? Because that would be weird.
I don't. Well, I thought it was kind of all of them. Like, don't they all become transformers, and then they're learning how to transform, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's
Yeah, it's the
what it looked like in
form.
the trailer. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it. I mean, yeah, maybe it's like My Hero, where most of the population can transform, and then there's this portion that can't, and they're like subclass or something, or and but now they get the ability, and maybe they spread it to everybody. Like maybe they're like, hey, we can all transform now. Then of course there's going to be detractors who are like, no, you can't, all
Yeah,
that.
right.
Yeah,
It's a have versus have not type of stuff.
yeah, yeah. Like Dr. Seuss with the what was it, the stars, whatever. I don't know. I don't know if you remember that.
You kind of threw me off when you
Yeah,
said
it's
Dr.
a it's a
Seuss.
Dr. Seuss story where I can't
Oh,
remember the name, but it's where these creatures on this island, some of them have a star and some don't.
oh, okay. I know.
And this slick talking Dr. Seuss in his machine, he's like, hey, I can give you a star if you don't have a star, right? So he ends up giving everybody a star, right? So then the people who already had stars are like, oh well, I'm going to get another star, so they get two stars, and then it
Oh,
becomes
yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
everybody's getting stars to have more stars to be more special, and eventually they realize how absurd it is, and they all become friends, right?
yeah,
But it's like that's what I'm wondering, like if it's something like that where it's like everyone's a transformer now, and but there's some that don't like it, or I don't know, but be interesting to see. Um, Rosemain says maybe the new transforming gift is relevant to the concept that G1 Megatron wanted to enslave some of the populace. Yeah, yeah,
well,
maybe right. Maybe once he's a transformer, now he wants to sort of turn it around on the others and be superior or something.
wasn't the whole point of the G1 Transformers is because in that continuity, the Decepticons essentially won, right? And the Autobots were driven off. And the other reason why they start fighting again is because Megatron. It's a Pride Land situation where they run out of their energon resource, and so they invade Earth to try to take over their resources, essentially.
Right? Yeah, converted to energon. Right. Um, and yeah, you're right. Optimus Prime was always talking about freedom in the cartoon. So yeah, so maybe it becomes Megatron is now that he has this new status, wants to exploit it somehow, and Optimus Prime is like, no, everyone deserves to be free, even if they can't transform. And so the Autobots end up fighting on behalf of everyone, all the Transformers and the non-Transformers, and the Decepticons are the ones trying to rule over everyone. You know, who knows? It'll be interesting to see. And yes, thank you, the Sneetches.
Oh yeah, the Sneetches.
That's what I was trying to remember. The Sneetches, the Dr. Seuss book. Yeah, so it's like maybe it's the Sneetches all over again, right? So I don't know. We'll see. It's kind of interesting, you know. I'm intrigued to see kind of where it goes, right? What they do with it. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to that. So we'll see. I hope it's good. I hope it's not you know what in there. So we'll see. Hopefully, it doesn't have the message in there. So far, I haven't seen it. But if you've seen it, let me know. Give me a fair warning. But yeah, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So that's all we have today, unless you have something else you want to bring up. But yeah, I think we're that's pretty much all we have.
Yep.
So thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to us live. Thanks, Rosamane, for joining us again. Really appreciate the input, man. You know, good stuff. Hopefully, we'll see you again next week. And yeah, for those who are watching after, thanks for watching. Thanks for your support. Please like and share. Please go to our website, supergalacticfantastic.com, and sign up to our email list to get notifications for when our campaign begins. We're getting close. We're counting down to when we're going to launch and do our crowdfund. So please stay tuned. And like I said, join our email list to stay informed and check out our site while you're there. See some of our characters. I plan on uploading some more art. We got lots more art and more characters. Those are just some of the characters, and they won't be in every story. But just to let you know, we're fleshing out a universe here, and so we're gonna have a lot of characters. Many will have their own book. We're definitely doing Alphatron, of course. But there's Big Russ. We're doing a Big Russ story as well. So hopefully we'll be able to include that as a stretch goal to get his book done as well. And we're finishing up writing that as well. So and plus there's a additional sort of bonus story. I'm actually rewriting my original book, Fantastic Dimension, because there's a lot of elements that was not included in the first book that I wanted to include and didn't. It was my first foray into writing a graphic novel. So, um, yeah, the story, there's just so much more to that story. So, my goal is to rewrite it, include everything that I didn't include before, including new characters that were, they were there, but I just didn't include their story in that story, right? Their part. And so, I want to do all that and release that series as well. So we got some big things hopefully coming down the pike, and we hope that you'll join us and partner with us and support what we're doing. And because at the end of the day, all we want to do is entertain you and give you something fun to read and something to engage with, and something that's for everyone. So once again, thanks for joining us, guys. Another Super Galactic Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your day and make it a wonderful day.
We'll see you around.